Welcome everybody to another episode of the Creator Compound. I'm your host, Toby Adderstrom. I'm with my co-host, Liam. And today we are doing episode 4. And we actually have a specific kind of theme and outline we want to talk about. Last episode, we did obviously the interview with Oscar Armstrong, who is the founder of Botisimo, which was really cool and that was really fun. Had a lot of fun time talking to him.
Shout out Oscar.
Shout out Oscar. He's the man. But this week's episode, I figured we'd do something a little bit more interesting that would really appeal to y'all. And the outline is about kind of the facts or myths that we have in the content creation strategies and the industry as a whole. And today we're going to be kind of going over those facts or myths together, and we're going to be explaining kind of why we have this train of thought and why we believe the things that we do in this industry. And hopefully from this, you'll be able to have a better plan and strategy on how you want to approach the content game. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got a couple kind of like fact or myths here for you for us to kind of talk about. I got maybe 4 or 5 here. We're going to talk about them for about 2 to 3 minutes each, and then we'll just move on to the next one. And these are all going to be specifically kind of related to gaming content, I would say, right? Yeah. I'd say most of it applies to gaming content. A lot of the things we're going to be talking about apply to content creation in general, but specifically it's mainly about the gaming aspect of it.
Yep.
So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. First one, fact or myth. Streaming more hours gives you better exposure, leading to increased viewership and growth. Fact or myth? What do you think? What's your personal take on that?
What year is it?
It's 2023
it's
right
2023. Now. So in 2023, I would say that is a myth. But yes. It used to be a fact.
It used to be. Back about when
7-8 years ago, I would say. Maybe even 6 years ago.
Because back when you think about it back then, like if you were going to live stream on Twitch TV, back then it was known as Justin TV.
Yep.
There were only a limited amount of streamers that you could have watched. I think there weren't more than than 2,000 at a time at the period of 2011, 2012.
Yep.
And so if you did stream longer times, that was a platform that was growing. If you consistently were on there, people would see you. Nowadays, streaming is so unbelievably saturated. Yep. I mean, Twitch revealed statistics that there was like any given day about 2.3 to 3 million streamers on at any given day.
Yeah, I think I think the lowest estimate I heard is over 1 million. So it's like, and that's the low. They're saying like the lowest time of the year. So I don't know if that's holidays or what that is exactly, but yeah, I definitely think that's a confusing one because it used to be true.
Yeah,
and it used to be that the more you did, because it was kind of, and I'm sure you could remember this. Anybody who's watching at home could remember this. There were times where you would watch streamers or you would see them like tweet something, or maybe they would be on another person's stream, and then they would all of a sudden be like, "Oh, I gotta go. It's like this person's hopping off. I'm gonna hop on, right?" And there was like this correlation where you knew like who the leader kind of was in your space, or the 10 people that kind of had a good following, and whether you were looking for a raid or really just looking for like for them to come off of that person and just go back to the explore page and kind of find you. I think right now is definitely, unfortunately, it is definitely a myth, but I think that you never know. It could be that could come back around full circle, but for right now, I think you got to be careful about balancing your hours.
Yeah.
You know, not streaming more just for the sake of more.
Right. And I think it's also important to note that specifically on Twitch as a platform, their algorithm for discovery and growth is not the same as YouTube's or Instagram's or TikTok. So that correlation of if I post more people will see my content doesn't hold up on Twitch, because that type of experience doesn't exist. Nobody can discover people based on the interest that the algorithm finds about you. So in that scenario, what we kind of recommend, or at least what I recommend, is to, in my opinion, I don't think you need to be streaming more than 4 hours a day. Unless
Yeah,
unless
agreed.
you're a pro player, right? Unless you get paid to play the
For
game.
sure. Yeah, different.
I don't think there's any reason for you to stream more than 4 hours a day. That will get you plenty of like content that people can watch on demand. And it's also probably more important to focus on the platforms like TikTok and like YouTube that enable algorithmic growth,
Yeah.
right? Pretty simple. So I don't really have anything else to say about that.
No, you just got to
It's-
find your funnel someplace else. You know, it's
Yeah.
just it used to be that just streaming a bunch of hours, you would find that would become your funnel because eventually the big people would hop off
Yeah.
and then you would hop on and their fans would be still ravenous to want to watch
Right.
something and then you would get that. But now you really need to be finding your fan base by doing some of the other forms of content that there is. Yeah.
And there's and again, this is interesting because the people who watch like TikTok live and scroll TikTok can be different people from who watch like Twitch clips and Twitch live streams. So you're kind of being able to amalgamate a combined set of audiences for better growth if you stream less and focus more on that video on demand content. So
Love that.
yeah, so I think yeah, you definitely should not be streaming more hours to get better exposure. You dummy.
Yeah. Stick to the 4 hours.
Stick to the 4 hours.
Do the 4 hours and make content for the other 2 hours you might have streamed if you were going to do 6. right?
Contrary to popular belief, you are not tens.
No.
You are not Scump either.
No.
You are a content creator.
Yes. Yes, you are.
All right.
Next up.
Next up. This is a good one. I see this a lot. Multi-streaming will harm your chances for growth as your audience is separated into two environments. Fact or myth? What do you? And this is all kind of personal opinion.
Yeah.
Based on the research I've done and based on the research and knowledge that you have, what do you think?
So I would say that is also a myth. The reason why, and I'll cite one particular streamer as to like the case study here. Guy by the name of Ninja, pretty popular guy, pretty big guy. Went to this other platform called Mixer for a little while, but basically he's, if I'm not mistaken, he's the biggest multi-platform guy right now.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a reason why he's decided to do that. I think Tyler Ninja in this case has decided that his business or some of the business that he may be able to create over the next couple of months or years is going to be more advantageous for him to just get as many viewers as possible from as many platforms to bring over and start to convert to his business. Another similar person who's doing like a similar thing would be like a Mark Rober. Like they're building a business and using their following and using their socials to bring the customers to their business.
Yeah.
I think that multi-streaming, the thing that people get confused about multi-streaming is that, you can't be Twitch partnered, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And multi-stream.
Yeah.
Which means that you're not going to get as much AdSense opportunity per se.
Yeah.
Or
Well, you won't be able to monetize through Twitch subs.
correct. And that's a big deal because that is a lot of the way that people do find their compensation until they start to get a sponsorship. But multi-streaming and finding more of an audience and building those communities in more places and then bringing them to you when you do hold an event somewhere, whether that's, making sure that you're telling people, hey, turn notifications on because we're doing a live on TikTok. I'm going to be live for an hour today or something like that. And then it might be, well, I'm going live for just chat with you guys in the community for about 3 or 4 hours or something like that, So it's just, I think it's different ways of accessing the platforms so that you get as much exposure as possible. I don't know. Do you know right now if TikTok Live, are people allowed to simulcast on TikTok Live and other platforms too?
Yeah. So the way it works is Twitch can, or if you are a Twitch streamer, they will actually allow you to, I'm sorry. If you're a Twitch partner, you can multi-stream. You just can't multi-stream to YouTube. That's the biggest thing. So you can stream to like auxiliary platforms like TikTok and Instagram who aren't direct competitors to Twitch.
Yep.
But you cannot stream to YouTube.
Got it.
So, but that was also another thing that I thought about was granted I don't make a full-time career out of live streaming and content creation, right? I work here. But you kind of have to like feel for some of these streamers who are like heavily reliant on like Twitch subscriptions and recurring subscriptions to get their revenue, because I feel like it's very easy to slip into the mindset of, man, I lost like 1,000 subs last month and I streamed 100 hours less. It's easy to make it, to assume that those two things are associated, and most times it's not. And so it's really easy to get trapped into that rabbit hole. You're like, oh, I just got to stream more. And this goes back to our first point where we're like, I just got to stream more and more and more and more. And the reality is that it's probably somewhere within your content, or you have competition, and they're going to do a competition. And so I feel bad for those people who are really reliant on Twitch subscriptions, because their mental is probably just like really hard to discipline to make sure that you're not streaming more hours for the sake of like compensating for your lost Twitch subs.
Yep.
It should be in your content strategy.
Yep. Yeah, I think kind of just wrapping this one up, if you're not, the advantage of multi-streaming is that you're going to get new eyeballs.
Right.
New eyeballs is really what you want. You want people to discover you. You want them to like you or like your content or like something about you and revisit you and remember you and follow you and keep track of you. And the fact is that you're probably going to find more new eyes on other platforms than you are on the platform that you're already existing on, if you've been there for a little while.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just starting out, there's a good chance that everybody's still kind of new eyes. And so therefore, and even with Twitch, because of the order of ranking of the highest people being at the top and the lowest being at the low, there is always there's that chance of being discovered. But I mean, realistically, like, I hate strolling on my Twitter feed to go see things like 6, 7, 8 hours ago. So the chances of me making it all the way bottom to a 0 streamer or a 1 streamer, very low. However, if you did decide to multicast to Facebook, which doesn't have as much competition, or maybe a slightly older audience, and you streamed something or chatted with them in a way that was more conducive to them, you might get more fresh eyes. So I think the big way to wrap this up is like, multi-streaming can be advantage if you're looking to grow your community and start to get more eyes on you. It may be a slight disadvantage to your monetization strategy, but there are ways of changing that and building that up. Sponsorships, just creating your own business, again, doing any of your own types of services or anything like that, where you can edit for somebody when you're not editing for yourself, or there's lots of different ways to make that monetization bridge.
Right. Yeah, totally. I mean, that kind of segues right into our next point, which is fact or myth, cross-posting short-form content to multiple platforms like Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts is okay because different audiences use different social media platforms. I'm going with true. I'm going with fact. That's okay.
Yeah, I would say that's a fact.
I would totally think that's okay. Yeah, because, I mean, put it this way. Do you know a single person that is like, all right, it's 5 o'clock, time to scroll TikTok for a little bit? All right, I've scrolled TikTok. Now time to see what's on YouTube Shorts. No one does that. They all have a specific short form platform of their choice, right?
Yeah.
And so when you post to all those platforms, you'll find different audiences, and then you'll actually be able to find where your audience lives. Does your audience live on YouTube? Do they live on Instagram? For example, if you're a gaming creator, chances are your audience might live on YouTube Shorts. But if you're like a designer or an artist, then maybe your audience is on Instagram Reels, right? And so that's why it's so important to be able to cross-post even the same content to multiple platforms so that you have a better understanding of where your audience lives in the internet. And then once you figure that out, you can start to really refine and design content specifically for that platform.
Yes.
So I think that's, completely okay. And I actually think I recommend it on some level, because I do the same thing with our Botisimo content. So totally think that's a good thing to do, and it is a fact.
Definitely a fact. Last thing on that, and we can move on to the next, would just be that, you do want to maybe adjust ever so slightly depending on what platform you're posting. If you're posting on Facebook, it's more likely it's an older demographic. Right. You may want to hold back on cutting that extra second and making it just a little bit slower so that older person will kind of get it a little better. On a TikTok, make it a little faster. Attention spans are low. I saw this great article yesterday that was basically showed like the attention span based on age group in your YouTube statistics. and it literally showed that like Gen Alpha, so kids like 18 or under, watch for 3 minutes, whereas like adults over the age of 40 will go all the way to like 4 minutes, and everybody in between is about 15 seconds of difference.
Okay.
So like under 18 is 3 minutes, up to 25 is 3 minutes and 15 seconds, up to 35 is 3 minutes and 30 seconds, over 45 is like 4 minutes, right? So your attention span is a little bit kind of based even on your age group right now. So definitely make little adjustments to those platforms, figure out what's working, double down on those when you do.
Yeah, totally. All right. Next one. I love this one because this one I do a lot of. And this is fact or myth. Your thumbnail and title are your two most important aspects of whatever content piece you're creating for YouTube specifically. And you should spend just as much time on those two aspects as you did for the actual video. Fact or myth?
Definitely a fact.
I think it's a fact to an extent. You don't if a video takes you 100 hours to make, you don't need to think for 100 hours about a title or 100 hours about a thumbnail. But you should put in the same level of investment that you did. Maybe even more.
Probably should have 100 thumbnails though, you know? I don't know if that thumbnail is going to take you an hour. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But everybody who I know who's successful on the platform, the number one guy who's successful on YouTube, Mr. Beast, says that every single video starts with the title and the thumbnail.
Right.
You know?
Before they even have the content.
Before a camera even touches the hand, everything is all about the title and the thumbnail because they understand that is literally 50% of the equation. You need to get somebody to click on it. You need to get somebody to watch. Those are the two things that you're looking for.
Right.
The only caveat is that they've started this autoplay fairly recently.
That's true.
And that's the only thing that I would say that like this is a fact about 95% of the way. The one little 5% I would say is that your first 10 seconds of your intro has got to be fire now.
Yeah.
Because autoplay is going to take away your thumbnail.
Like pretty much immediately.
Almost immediately. So they're going to see your title. So your title has got to be on point. It needs to be whatever, less than 100 characters. Like you need to really hone in on that title. But thumbnail and now the first 10 seconds need to be very good important. To combat the hockey stick, is what they call it, which if you're ever watching your YouTube retention chart, hopefully Toby can do a really cool little thing in red with my finger right now, but it goes like this. You have people watching, and then it goes, 10% of people immediately quit watching, and then it flatlines for the rest of the way if you're doing a good job with your content.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be people who clicked on it who just didn't like your intro, didn't like the way you smiled, didn't like something about it. So you can't always get rid of that per se. But you can start to shorten that hockey stick as it to that initial like 10-second loss.
Right.
Get right to the point, get right on top of it, make it exciting.
Just basically explain the video in less than 10 seconds and make it catchy. Like Mr. Beast was talking about how there was like kind of his like methodology in the madness was he was like, all right, we have 12 seconds to grab their attention. Let's do a specific 2-second shot here. And let's actually make it 2.2 seconds. Yep. And then we'll do a 1-second shot here, another 1 second, another 1 second, then a 3-second. And it's like, he's got it just like down to a principle. He doesn't, it's just insane how he's able to like just understand the behavior of his users like that, which I'm just in shock. I don't know. It's just crazy how good at he is.
It's so streamlined. Like, I think of his island video for his what was it, giving away 10 million subscribers or something.
I have no idea.
So he gave away a private island. He talks about the private island a lot because it's one of the opportunities where to buy a private island is about $5 million. And what Jimmy found out, that's if you want a nice private island, $5 million. Mm-hmm. If you bought a shitty island, that's $2 million, and then you put $1 million of sand and vegetation to make it look nice.
Yeah,
you can get a $5 million island for $3 million. But the intro to that video was, we bought a private island in the middle of the ocean, and the last person to leave this island wins. Mm-hmm. And that's literally like the video starts from right there. So he's got you hooked right away, like. We bought our 50 millionth user or 50 million viewer, private island or whatever. So it's like it's so streamlined and so quick, it's so clear that you're automatically hooked on the video and you're not going to turn away for the rest of the video. So yes, that's a fact. Thumbnail, title, and this is the bonus for you guys. This is why you watch the pod. Make sure your first 10 or 15 seconds is fire on the intro.
That's why you watch us. We do the research so you don't have to.
Yes.
Drop a subscription and a like, please.
Yes.
Helps
Leave
us
a
out a
comment
lot.
down below.
Yeah, leave a comment. That'd be fun.
What is your favorite thumbnail and title of all time? Give me your favorite artist. Give me the artist. Give me the thumbnail. Or no, you can't give me the thumbnail. Give me the title and the artist, and we'll go look it up for next week. What the most popular ones were.
Yeah. All right, next one. Playing/streaming the most viewed and also most saturated games on streaming platforms won't necessarily hinder your growth, but it can be slower. Fact or myth?
That's a fact, I think. Well, let me think. Hold on. Say it again one more time.
So the point I'm trying to make is that it's okay. Like if you want to play Apex Legends and there's 100,000 streamers playing the game, but you enjoy playing the game, that's completely okay to play it. But if you are streaming a game or a high viewed game for the sake of streaming a high viewed game, that's where we have problems, right?
Yeah.
Because the game is something that you should be able to enjoy, because that authenticity is brought out by the game itself. So if you really like Apex and you have a fun time and you're happy while you play it, that's going to reflect in your content as well. So while it's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion, it can be very slow to grow through those games because of the plethora of creators.
Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah. So
you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Cool.
So on that note, I would say that, like, if you haven't figured this out yet, like maybe 2% of people have like the skills to be a professional gamer.
Right.
And so if you just did like the numbers we were talking about earlier, 2-3 million people, like 2% of those, which would be about 450,000 people or so, might have the skills to actually like be a top tier gamer.
Yeah.
But that leaves 98% of people are watching you because they want to be entertained. They want to enjoy your personality. They want to see you discover things. They want to see you have interactions with other players in the game.
Right.
They're there to watch the game that they like to watch, but they're also there to experience something fun and unique and
with you.
And it's all about being with you along the journey. So it's like, it's totally okay to choose a game that's super popular so long as you're enjoying it and you're innovating on the ideas around that topic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like Team Summertime did like a private lobby where I think they did like hide and seek. Like that's a genius idea to do, is to like send players out into Warzone and like everybody hides and seeks until like the last circle.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of fun because that's not the objective of the game normally. It's going to immediately, anybody who's played it is going to be like, oh, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And then I want to watch it. Yeah. And then if you're entertaining and you and your buddies are having fun, or you and your community's having fun at the beginning of that video, more than likely that new viewer is going to watch all the way to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's again, like if you want to, you can niche down in a saturated game. That's possible. It's a bit more difficult because there's more people doing content there. So chances are there's someone else out there that has already done your idea. But the thing is that if you can execute on that idea in a better manner than the other person, then your content's going to be recommended more. When you're in a smaller game, that's not really too much the case because, again, that content and that network of content for that game specifically is still being built and developed. But in a game like Apex Legends, where it's already been established, it's a bit harder to break in. So that kind of segues us into our last topic, which is there is such a thing as niching down too far. Now, personally, I'm kind of on the fence on this. I can see it from both ways, but with the research I was doing online last night when I was preparing for this podcast, some people were in agreement that yes, you can niche down too far, and other people were like, no, there's no way. I mean, there's not such a thing. And for me, I lean towards the side of I think there is a possibility that you can niche down too far. And the reason I say that is because if your content is so obscure, and I wouldn't say, and irrelevant is a bad term for it, but it's not realized by a lot of people. For example, gaming is a big industry. People know about it. So if you make gaming content, people are like, okay, I get it. But if you're making videos about a 1999, well, no, I don't want to use a car example because that's actually a pretty good example.
It's it's really tough because like niching down, it's put it like this: if you niche down too far, then nobody's going to watch because it may not be interesting or it may not be something that's curious to them. And it's all about piquing curiosity to get somebody to click on your content or to stay with your content. They're kind of waiting for this next thing to happen or this anticipation of something that you might be building for them. So, I mean, if you're, if people can build like little worlds in Minecraft and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely think that like, you can niche down too far, but it's going to be reflected in the views, right? So it's like if you go too far and you niche down to like the smallest little level, but nobody's still watching, you probably need to go up a level, right? You probably need to subtract one of the variables that you niche down to move it back
exactly.
one more time.
These platforms, like if you're making extremely niche content, they don't know how to recommend it to people because it's such an obscure topic.
Yes.
Right? So if I post something about linoleum floors, caulking, and black paint all in the same video, YouTube is not going to even have the slightest idea on who to recommend that to. And so instead, what you would talk about is just linoleum floors. Yep. That's a bigger niche that people go into and that people are aware of. But all three together in the same aspect, and I only use that example because I'm looking at a linoleum floor right now.
Yep.
It's going to be too far down. Not enough people are going to watch it, and therefore YouTube's not going to recommend it to more people. So, my opinion, I think you can niche down too far. But if that happens, just know that you could try something else. It's always good to experiment. And I mean, you got anything else?
I would just say like try to like again go back to what we were talking about like a couple subjects ago with like the title and the thumbnail need to be super on point. Like if those things are on point, you're showing them to people and they're really interested in them. But then people are clicking on your video and they're clicking off or something like that. You just need to remember that it's all about giving the audience value. And so niching down, you might have niched down too far where the value's not there. You might want to improve on places like your SEO. In Toby's example, like just a second ago, like he's talking about linoleum floors and caulking and a bunch of different things. It's like it's going to be important for you to figure out the proper SEO on like DIY, right? Do it yourself. You're going to want to know proper SEO on home improvement, right? You're going to want to know proper SEO on like like binding material, like you need to figure out what it is that you're explaining, and you kind of got to go one level further and being a little more analytical in trying to get that information to tie to your content in some type of way. Now that's a much more difficult skill, I think, than if you would just remove one layer, like you were just saying, and talk about the main subject. And you can still talk about the highlights of some of the supporting details or some of the other parts that we were just saying, like caulking and certainly other things. But like niching down is a good thing generally, unless nobody's watching, in which case you need to niche back up again. Okay? But I think, that pretty much takes care of it, right? We got any other...
No, that was it. So that was all the kind of those were the main bullet points I wanted to hit today. If we have a couple more, if some of y'all recommend some topics or questions in the Discord, we'll certainly try to get to those in the next episode of the podcast. But for now, this is going to be the end of this one. We're trying to keep them a little bit shorter, close to 20, 30 minutes, just because 40 minutes is a big ask for a lot of these people. And so we feel like if it's 20 or 30 minutes, we'll be A-okay. So we appreciate you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast, feel free to rate it on any of the streaming platforms that you use. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. It's now on Google Podcasts as well. So if you do enjoy this episode, feel free to give it a rate. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to give a like and subscribe. We do all the research and information finding here so that you don't have to. And then we can explain it to you in a far better manner that they ever could. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
See you in the next one. Peace.